Hello, I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and we are ready for our May the 18th lesson in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students, Lesson 138 from the original edition. Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. In this world, heaven is a choice because here we believe there are alternatives to choose between. We think that all things have an opposite, and what we want, we choose. If heaven exists, there must be hell as well. For contradiction is the way we make what we perceive and what we think is real. Creation knows no opposite, but here is opposition part of being real, and real is in quotes. It is this strange perception of the truth that makes the choice of heaven seem to be the same as the relinquishment of hell. The relinquishment of hell. It is not really thus. Yet what is true in God's creation cannot enter here unless it is reflected in some form the world can understand. Truth cannot come where it could only be perceived with fear. For this would be the error. Truth can be brought to illusions. Opposition makes the truth unwelcome, and it cannot come. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and expenditure of time. Without decision, time is but a waste and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results. There is no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished, nothing learned. Let's read that one again. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and expenditure of time. Without decision, time is but a waste and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results. There is no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished, nothing learned. You need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you when there is really only one to make between truth and illusion. You don't have to decide among types of illusions. Those are all illusions. So you need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you when there is really only one to make. Heaven is the decision I must make. And even this but seems to be a choice. Do not confuse yourself with all the doubts that myriad decisions would induce. You make but one, and when that one is made, you will perceive it was no choice at all. For truth is true, and nothing else is real. There is no opposite to choose instead. There is no contradiction to the truth. Choosing depends on learning, but the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. In recognition, its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. But knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Ours are teaching goals to be attained through learning how to reach them, what they are, and what they offer you. Decisions are the outcome of your learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth of what you are and what your needs must be. In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. It just is. In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. Of all the choices you have tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive, the prototype of all the rest, the one which settles all decisions. If you could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others are resolved with it. For all decisions but conceal this one by taking different forms. Here is the final and the only choice in which is truth accepted or denied. Heaven is the decision I must make. Truth is the decision I must make. Reality is the decision I must make. Love is the decision I must make. Peace is the decision I must make. But it's siding with what's real, what's true, what's integrated into reality. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us make. Wow, that's nice to know. Time was made to help us make this decision. Heaven is the decision I must make. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us, make. Such is its holy purpose, such is time's holy purpose, now transformed from the intent you gave it, that it be a means of demonstrating hell is real. Hope changes to despair, and life itself must in the end be overcome by death. Those are the ideas that you gave to life, the word life. But it has a holy purpose, which is now transformed from the intent you gave, that it be a means for demonstrating hell is real. Hope changes to despair, and life itself must in the end be overcome by death. In death alone are opposites resolved, for ending opposition is to die. And thus salvation must be seen as death, for life is seen as conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end your life as well. Oh my, I suppose that's an idea that people that commit suicide are unconsciously holding. And it may even become conscious to them, to whatever the word conscious means in an insane world where we see what is not real as real. These mad beliefs can gain unconscious hold of great intensity and grip the mind with terror and anxiety so strong that it will not relinquish its ideas about its own protection. It must be saved from salvation, threatened to be safe, and magically armored against truth. And these decisions are made unaware to keep them safely undisturbed, apart from question and from reason and from doubt. Heaven is chosen consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding, to be judged again, this time with heaven's help. And all mistakes in judgment which the mind had made before are open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now are they without effects. They cannot be concealed because their nothingness is recognized. The conscious choice of the conscious choice of heaven is as sure as is the ending of the fear of hell, when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness, and is brought to light. Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Yet who can fail to make a choice between alternatives, when only one is seen as valuable, the other as a wholly worthless thing, a but imagined source of guilt and pain? Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And shall we hesitate to choose today? Heaven is the decision I must make. We make the choice for heaven as we wake and spend 5 minutes making sure that we have made the one decision that is sane. We recognize that we make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing but an appearance of the truth. Its pseudo-being, brought to what is real, is flimsy and transparent in the light. It holds no terror now, for what was made enormous, vengeful, pitiless with hate, demands obscurity for fear to be invested there. Now it is recognized as but a foolish, trivial mistake. Isn't that something? Before we close our eyes to sleep tonight, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between. Okay, so we're going to have a 5-minute morning meditation and a 5-minute evening meditation. As soon as you can after you wake up, and as soon as you can before you go to bed. And then every hour of the day, have a remembrance. So before we close our eyes in sleep tonight, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between. And now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we awoke. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again in a brief quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again in a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. Well, these hourly remembrances of our lesson are a devotion to our own sanity. Wow, who wouldn't do that if it was really what was going on? You know, the reason why that's so good is because you're kind of like taking a test of your day-to-day life. Instead of reviewing it in the morning for the things that you thought of during the night or the day before, or the things you're going to think about or that you're going to do that day. Instead, you allow it to just, you're stopping throughout the day, and you're just getting a little sampling, and you're actually experiencing what you're doing that day, and you're laying the idea, today you're laying the idea, heaven is a decision I must make. So the things that you were doing that you might not even remember in the evening, maybe you'll remember them then, and you can begin to line up your mind with truth, with God, with reality, with sanity. And finally, we close the day with this, acknowledging we chose but what we want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Okay, let's go take a look in our text reading, and we're going to start in paragraph 79 of section 9, the purpose of the body, chapter 18, the dream and reality. And while you're turning there, if you'd like to follow along, let me tell you about a cold weather tomato. It's called the Siberian. Introduced through Seed Savers Exchange in 1984 by Will Bonsall, originally from the Loden collection. Dwarf, sprawling plants with very early fruit set. Egg-shaped 2 to 3 inch fruits with good strong flavor. Not the same as Siberia, which is inferior in all respects. It's a determinate, and it's 57 to 60 days from transplant, called the Siberian. So that's when you could get started real early and get it, and you could end up having tomatoes, instead of having to wait till July, you could get them probably for sure in June, maybe even as early as May if you got them started early. Okay, let's see. Let's look at our reading. Like I said, paragraph 79. The thought of God surrounds your little kingdom, waiting at the barrier you built to come inside and shine upon the barren ground. See how life springs up everywhere. The desert becomes a garden, green and deep and quiet, offering rest to those who lost their way and wander in the dust. Give them a place of refuge, prepared by love for them where once a desert was, and everyone you welcome will bring love with him from heaven for you. They enter one by one into this holy place, but they will not depart as they had come alone. The love they brought with them will stay with them, as it will stay with you. And under its beneficence, your little garden will expand and reach out to everyone who thirsts for living water, but has grown too weary to go on alone. Wow, we have a mighty function. Give people a drink of cool water to drink where they don't even feel like they can go on because they're so tired and famished and dried out. Go out and find them, for they bring yourself with them. Wow, you're gonna go find these people and help them, and it's gonna bring yourself with them. And lead them gently to your quiet garden and receive their blessing there. So will it grow and stretch across the desert, leaving no lonely little kingdom locked away from love and leaving you inside. And you will recognize yourself and see your little garden gently transformed into the kingdom of heaven, with all the love of its creator shining upon it. The holy instant is your invitation to love, to enter into your bleak and joyless kingdom, and to transform it into a garden of peace and welcome. Love's answer is inevitable. It will come because you came without the body and interpose no barriers which would interfere with its glad coming. In the holy instant, you ask of love only what it offers everyone, neither less nor more. Asking for everything, you will receive it, and your shining self will lift the tiny aspect which you tried to hide from heaven straight into heaven. And your shining self will lift the tiny aspect which you tried to hide from heaven straight into heaven. No part of love calls on the whole in vain. No son of God remains outside his fatherhood. Be sure of this. Love has entered your special relationship and entered fully at your weak request. Well, that's nice to know, isn't it? Be sure of this, he says. Love has entered your special relationship and entered fully at your weak request. You do not recognize that love has come because you have not yet let go of all the barriers you hold against each other. And you will not be able to give love welcome separately. You could no more know God alone than he knows you without your brother. But together you could no more be unaware of love than love could know you not or fail to recognize itself in you. The last paragraph, 83. You have reached the end of an ancient journey, not realizing that it is over. You have reached the end of an ancient journey, not realizing yet that it is over. You are still worn and tired, and the desert's dust still seems to cloud your eyes and keep you sightless. Yet he whom you welcome has come to you and would welcome you. He has waited long to give you this. Review it now of him, for he would have you know him. Only a little wall of dust still stands between you. Blow on it lightly and with happy laughter, and it will fall away, and walk into the garden love has prepared for both of you. That's in your special relationship. Love is entered at our weak request. And we're going to walk into the garden together that love has prepared for both of us. Wow, isn't that beautiful? Let's read that last paragraph one more time. You have reached the end of an ancient journey, not realizing that it is over. You are still worn and tired, and the desert's dust still seems to cloud your eyes and keep you sightless. Yet he whom you welcome has come to you and would welcome you. He has waited long to give you this. Receive it now of him, for he would have you know him. Only a little wall of dust still stands between you. Blow on it lightly and with happy laughter, and it will fall away. And walk into the garden love has prepared for both of you. All right, well, we can do that today because our lesson, heaven is the decision I must make. That's the garden love has prepared for both of us. That's how I see it anyway. All right. Well, so let's be sure to do our 2 5-minute meditations, one in the morning, one in the evening. And be sure to take at the top of every hour, best you can. Remember, God, heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now, will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. So we can say that to ourselves many times today. Put it on a card if you need to, and pull it out of your pocket. Read it throughout the day, on the hour if you can. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. And let me just read this last paragraph again before we close our eyes and sleep tonight. This is in our lesson. We reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between, and now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we awoke. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again in a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. And finally, we close the day with this, acknowledging we chose but what we want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson today. I've had a little difficulty getting my videos uploaded and for the last day or two, and I'm sorry about that. And hopefully you did what I've told you before. Go directly to your Course in Miracles, and whichever way you're accessing it, either online or in a book form, and read your lesson for the day, and do it whether I'm there or not. That's my encouragement. If you're just kind of checking it out and listening to the videos, well, they will get uploaded, and I encourage you to listen to them if that's your way of trying to assimilate this information. Maybe some of you aren't actually doing the lessons the way they say to be done. First year I did them, I didn't do very well at all. In many years, I would do them and not really get them real well. And as the years went by, I got them where I'd do them better, and each time they become more important to me because I devoted more of my attention to them. So anyway, my encouragement is to do them as the way the Master tells us to do it. But if you're not ready to do that, or don't feel like you want to for some reason, I'm glad that you enjoy listening to me. Thank you for joining me. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Heaven is the decision I must make.